Folks, this is stunning. On Donald Trump's watch, America is facing multiple crises. Bird flu is spreading. Gas and grocery prices are skyrocketing. We even entered an unnecessary 12-hour trade war with a key ally and trading partner in Latin America. And the entire time this has been going on, Donald Trump has been golfing. But despite this, a gaggle of MAGA Fox News hosts are celebrating Trump, gushing over him, saying that he should be chiseled onto Mount Rushmore or have his face on currency or should have airports renamed after him. And to make that even worse, elected Republican congresspeople have actually proffered legislation to do all these things. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Folks, there can be no doubt that the MAGA movement, from the MAGA influencers to MAGA Republicans to many MAGA voters, unfortunately, that it is a cult of personality that seeks only to venerate Trump even when he is at his moments of least veneration, okay? I want to play this clip. It's about 2.5, 3 minutes long. Prepare yourself for it. It's Fox News. It's outnumbered. And they're already saying that Donald Trump should be put on Mount Rushmore after 1 week.
Well, exactly a week ago this hour, we got a brand new president, number 47, for his second term. And there are already calls to put his face on Mount Rushmore. A growing number of conservatives are pushing to add Trump to the legendary monument. They claim he's already done enough to be immortalized alongside George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. And Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna says she's already filing the legislation to make it happen. Make Mount Rushmore great again.
Let's just stop right here. Folks, again, I want you to imagine that this wasn't Fox News, that this was MSNBC, and it was Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell, however many others. And just imagine that they said after Biden's first week, we should have put President Biden on Mount Rushmore. And then I want you to imagine how Fox would have reacted to it, how these people, these very people that you're about to see on Fox News, on Outnumbered, would react to such a declaration from MSNBC. How would MAGA respond? How would MAGA voters respond? How would elected Republicans respond? How would MAGA influencers and conservative media respond? They would be understandably grossed out and apoplectic and be calling it out, shouting it down. Oh my God, MSNBC should be canceled. That's super gross. How dare you? And yet they're cheerleading this. We'll continue.
Jason?
Hey, there's room up there. I think it'd be great. I think what Donald Trump has done and is in the process of doing is transforming the United States of America and putting America first. And I think America loves it. And I think there's a great case for it.
Kayla?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this because that would be some sweet irony after President Joe Biden stopped the fireworks display from Mount Rushmore. So if you did the 250th anniversary of the country at Mount Rushmore with President Trump's face, it would be epic. There's also a petition now in Congress to change Dulles Airport's name to Donald Trump International Airport. So you have Trump and you have Reagan in D.C. And would that be something special for the swamp?
Again, I really shouldn't. I'm trying to train myself in real time to not be so frustrated by the staggering hypocrisy and cultishness coming from these MAGA Fox hosts and the right wing, because they just don't care. They delight in the hypocrisy. It's their superpower. The shamelessness is their superpower. They know it adds to their many institutional advantages, that they can say one thing and do another, grade themselves and their allies on a curve, hold you and their other political opponents to the highest level of standards. Again, just imagine how this person, Kayleigh McEnany, former Trump press secretary, would be reacting if Jen Psaki, a former Biden press secretary, were saying something similar about President Biden. Also note the lack of specifics in terms of Donald Trump's accomplishments, which merit an appearance on Mount Rushmore. Don't let those details get in the way of a good story.
All right, Emily.
Yeah, okay, my opinion might not be that popular, but I actually, with all due respect to the beautiful Dakotas, I despise Mount Rushmore. I hate that we chiseled humans' faces into the mountains. So for me,
Emily,
I would be all for putting President Trump's face on currency, right? Or, which obviously there's the cryptocurrency, but I mean, put it on a quarter or whatever. And
I got so much there. So, okay, so put the face of a guy who refused to commit to a peaceful transfer of power, broke the 250-year tradition of a peaceful transfer of power established by President Washington, whose face is on Mount Rushmore, and then he pardoned his violent insurrectionist cultists, including those who viciously attacked cops, put him on currency. Then she has the temerity to reference his cryptocurrency, the meme coin. And again, I should be training myself in real time because they don't care. They just don't care. And unfortunately, the vast majority of American voters simply don't care about hypocrisy, no matter where they see it, because they seem to tolerate it in their politicians, certainly Republicans more. But imagine that President Biden or Kamala Harris or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. Imagine if one of them launched a meme coin during an election or after stepping into office. How this same person, Emily Campagno, would respond to that thing. She wouldn't be celebrating it. She wouldn't be mentioning it casually. She'd be condemning it, rightly, in the strongest possible terms, as an act of corruption, an act of grift. But because Trump is doing it, well, we got to grade him by a different set of standards. Super gross.
And I love the thought of the D.C. airport, yes, but I would like to please leave the mountains alone.
All right.
I love it. Contrarian. It's great.
Can we boo? Can we boo on this show? I don't know.
Chisel humans.
And you can't boo up either. Anyway.
Apparently, you can't. Like, the physical structure can't support it. So the National Park Services, I read, they've long studied this, and they said that it's actually not suitable. It's no longer suitable for additional carving. So I don't know if it would be even feasible at that point. But I do fully support changing Dulles Airport after President Trump. It also makes a lot of sense because you have Reagan here or in D.C. with DCA. And there's a lot of parallels between the two presidents of inheriting terrible economies, instability around the world, and then building off of that, fixing those problems, and then going on.
So funny. Inheriting terrible economies. Again, by every macroeconomic metric, our economy is the envy of the world. In many ways, better than it was when Trump was in office, and even before Trump presided over the COVID disaster. Again, just job creation. Unemployment has been consistently lower under President Biden than it ever was under Donald Trump. The stock market performed spectacularly well under President Biden, and that's what these people usually care about when a Republican is president. At least we have prime labor force participation rates, unlike anything we've seen in 20 years, including under Donald Trump. The lowest levels of black unemployment. I mean, just again, so many staggeringly positive macroeconomic statistics, the same standards they would use to evaluate if Trump were in power. And again, it won't be long. We're already starting to see people talk about, oh, the economy under Trump. Wow, I'm starting to feel a lot different, even though he just simply inherited President Biden's economy. The revisionist history, the deceit, the cultishness coming from these MAGA losers, and the shamelessness with which they do it. It really is staggering and just goes to show that Fox is objectively worse than even MSNBC. We don't see this shit from MSNBC. We also don't see this shit from elected Democrats compared to elected Republicans. So some of this was referenced in the clip I just showed you. But yes, there was a movement last year to rename Dulles Airport after Donald Trump. Republicans didn't want to work with President Biden or elected Democrats to try to tame inflation or do all sorts of other things. They wanted to identify crises but not work to fix them. And instead, the House Republican majority pitched an idea like, hey, we should just rename shit after Donald Trump. That's what the American people really need. Of course, it didn't go anywhere because you had to deal with a Democratic Senate and a Democratic White House. But now they're resurrecting it because they have a Republican trifecta. North Carolina Republican proposes renaming Dulles Airport after Donald Trump. It is being resurrected, folks. But it goes beyond that still. I also mentioned that sponsored by Andy Ogles, that there is a legislative bill that's been proffered to change the 22nd Amendment so as to allow Donald Trump, but not President Obama or President Clinton, run for a third term. Andy Ogles, elected Republican, that's what they're pitching. So while, again, gas and grocery prices are skyrocketing, while we enter 12-hour trade wars with key Latin America allies, you all say the economy's terrible and the world's on fire. While all that's going on and you have unified control of government, you're pushing the legislation to rename an airport after Trump and let Trump run for a third term? Well, that's kind of ridiculous. Oh, and then, of course, as was mentioned in the clip specifically, You have a MAGA Republican Congressman, Anna Paulina Luna, who is proposing changing Mount Rushmore to chisel Donald Trump's face onto it. Again, they have unified control of government. They could be doing whatever they want, and this is where their priorities are. And then, of course, again, we saw again the bill to rename Dulles Airport has been resurrected as well. Folks, this is the frustrating thing. It's so damn frustrating that while all of that is going on, you have MAGA media cheerleading this. Oh my God. Yes, rename everything after Donald Trump. He's just so amazing. We can't specify exactly what makes him amazing. That would be too much effort, but he just is. Trust us. He's basically like Reagan. Rename airports after him. He inherited a terrible economy. Well, again, not true. But again, we are starting to see gas and grocery prices skyrocket. As the New York Times pointed out, egg prices are high. They'll likely go higher because of bird flu, which is rapidly spreading on Trump's watch. And he has basically gutted CDC's, the Center for Disease Control's ability to communicate with the public. It might help to actually have CDC communicate with the public. And while all of this is going on, Donald Trump has been golfing. Trump is currently on vacation at his private golf club while prices skyrocket and bird flu spreads. Nearly 30% of his days of president have been spent golfing so far. And this is the guy that they believe deserves a place on Mount Rushmore, a place on your currency. They delight in the cryptocurrency grift that he is peddling. They want to rename airports after him. This just again goes to show that elected Republicans are objectively inferior at governing. They have all the power in the country right now. And instead of focusing on bringing down gas and grocery costs and dealing with bird flu, they're trying to put Donald Trump's face and name on everything. That's where their priorities are. And that's why we have to point that out to the American people and make them realize, like, hey, whatever disagreements you may have with the Democratic Party, at least they're not trying to put Biden, Obama, Kamala, Hillary, and other people's names and faces on shit. They actually try to govern. And maybe that should be the priority when you cast your vote. Food for thought. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.